now we mentioned the courts before and how things are changing, and let's sort of switch gears a little bit to around the redundancy factor, because I know there's been a landmark ruling handed down by the High Court,
Yes.
probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago, which
Yeah.
impacts redundancies. Are you okay to take us through what that ruling is all about?
Yeah, for sure. So this was a really, as they called it in the media, a landmark decision. And when I was looking back last night, it felt like months ago. It was only, like you said, 4 or 5 weeks ago. But I think because it's such an impactful decision, it's taken a real weight. And even in the last month, we've had to advise clients that are going through redundancies to be aware of and considerate of this new ruling. So basically, in summary, you now have to take into consideration consultants when you're making decisions about redundancies. So you might be making the marketing coordinator redundant, but you might have an agency doing just a small portion out from a consulting perspective, contracting.
Yep.
Previously, you didn't have to take that into consideration. Okay, I could bring that in-house. That might mean I don't need to make this individual redundant. Now you must. So it's not just looking at your current employment relationship and workforce from can you make redeployments. It's also the people and the consultants outside, which is huge because before a lot of people would make a role redundant and go, I'm going to outsource it to a consultant or
Correct.
offshore it or things like that. So this changes your process and your strategy that you need to go through and do consultation because it's not just about who's on the books from an employment perspective. It goes wider.
Wow.
So previously people go, okay, I'm going to make you redundant, Paul, and I'm going to get a contractor to probably do 60% of the role. Well, if you've got a contractor doing that or you go and engage it and the individual that's been let go finds out, that's not going to fly anymore.
Wow. Wow. So what do employers need to make sure that they're doing, or the legal requirements around that?
Yeah, so basically, you need to look at opportunities for redeployment. If you've identified that role X is going to become redundant, you need to look at redeployment opportunities, not just within the workforce, also the other people that you're engaging. And consultation, because you might be thinking as a leader, oh, okay, this person's on $100,000. We've got an admin role. It's $50,000. They're not going to want that. Well, you don't know. You
Yeah.
don't know that they might not be driven by financial. You don't know that $50,000 might be better than $0 for them. So you really need to make sure that consultation is done in the proper manner. The amount of clients that we get that come to us and say, okay, I want to make Tom over there redundant tomorrow. Whoa, 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 whoa. No, it's all about the process when it comes to redundancy and a stepped and staged process. We get a lot of pushback, especially from small business. And I do quotation because whether you're small business with 10 staff, 2 staff, or a larger business with 200, you still have to follow the consultation process. You don't have a get out of jail free card. So consider redeployment opportunities that are within your employment framework or the employees, but also outside. So, for example, I was talking about this. If I was to make our general manager redundant, right? Okay, there's no more role. Hang on, I outsource my bookkeeping and my payroll and the accounts function. Now, that's a skill that could be learnt. I could bring that in-house and that could be a role for the general manager. Now, people go, why would a general manager want that role? Well, they just want employment. And that is a skill that could be taught. So you've got to really think wide. You need to make sure that you have a really strong paper trail when it comes to redundancy. You can't just sit the person down and say, look, I'm really sorry, Paul, because of financial pressures, we have to let your role go. There's a consultation process. Stage 1, informing them, letting them know it's looking like a redundancy is going to occur to the role that you hold. Give them time to reflect, write to them. bring them back in, see if they've got any reasons as to why the role shouldn't become redundant. Have they thought about something that you haven't? Listen, consider what they bring forward. You might need to even meet a third time. It really depends what gets brought up, and make sure after every meeting occasion that you formally write to the employee, because whether you end up in the Fair Work Commission for unfair dismissal, whether it actually is unfair or not, if you didn't follow that process, you can get a slap.